up into three parts, and if you look to the, if you're looking at the back wall to the right, this blue screen here is the wiki. This is where we put everything. On the wiki itself, it tells you the purpose, the project idea, some samples, the rubrics, all of the essential things around the wiki itself. And in here it explains how we have three parts to this. The first part is a web quest, which is very specific. It gives you a general understanding of the different types of enzymes and how they work. It's very specific, gets you to a certain website, and guides you through it with specific questions. After the first part, it'd be submitted for grading. One of the teachers would go over it, question by question and figure it out. It's just, like you said, it's your typical web quest. The second part, though, is where it kind of goes into the student's hands a little more. The goal of that one is to better understand how different types of enzyme functions in the student's eyes. So this is the one where it's going to be where the students are guided to different sites and very open-ended questions, and they have to answer it through the sites. So they have to be able to tell us about how enzymes function, what the purpose of each, part of the enzyme function is, the specificity, things like that, in their own words. So it's not that guided fill-in-the-blank type of setup. We're kind of scaffolding them to doing their own project. And within part two, they also need to complete some kind of an activity to show that they understand it. They can either do a poster through something like Glogster, they can do a pamphlet through Microsoft Publisher, some kind of a document, a poster, a presentation even, to show that they understand the general functions of enzymes. And in that they have to incorporate what enzymes are, what their purpose is, why do they exist, how they function, and some examples of enzyme function in life. And then the third part is an actual thing where they can apply it to a real-world example. So in this part, they would do research of a specific type of enzyme disease, and they would go to some of the examples we've given on the site. You have some example websites or any on their own, and find a disease, an enzyme disease, and they would make a patient chart using Microsoft Excel. So the patient chart has all kinds of things in there. They can put data in about what the symptoms are of it, the test you would figure out to try to figure out what it is, anything that can lead them to a diagnosis. And then their goal is to pass this on to another group, and they would have to then determine what their disease was that they were researching. So in other words, this is not only for one person to apply what they're learning, but for another group to try to figure out what this disease is based on what they're presenting, present a case to somebody else. And over on the right side of the pod, by the door, I should say the left side of the door, if you're facing the doorway, there's a screen there that we've put in. In the future, we were hoping to have maybe a doctor who could, kind of tap into it, or you could converse with the doctor, or some kind of a nurse or something, and they could, guide you through this process. How well did you do? What other symptoms could there be? What kind of diagnosis are you looking at? How well did you do this project? And if you had any other questions. So we thought that would be a nice touch to have added into the project. And the goal at the end of this was for them to be able to combine, all of this technology, the Glogster, the Excel, whatever they chose to present it, to incorporate, their own knowledge, and also, pull in other groups and work together to be able to get this. And hopefully, as Dr. O'Connor's saying, doctors and nurses are interested in talking to kids, and hopefully it would open up that door for professional, conversation between the kids and, the professionals over this internet-based medium. Okay? So that's the opening of it, what the purpose is, what we're doing. Yep, and Emily, you can take it over from here.
I'll walk you through the pod quick so that we can get going on to the next. I see it's 8:42. There's a PowerPoint in the left corner. As soon as you walk in on the left, right beneath that, you have a poster board of the Glogster, I believe. I'm not bringing it up right now, so I don't want to slow myself down. To the right of the PowerPoint, whole wall has moved. Um, you see the virtual lab. Okay, there we go. There's 2 virtual labs there that the kids could sit down and play with. Moving around, we have the wiki that you just saw. In the corner, on the right side of the wiki, there's a synopsis of a house episode that deals with an enzyme deficiency. And I picked a funny one that even you could show little clips in class because no one would guess that the patient's symptoms would ever have to do with an enzyme-related disease. On the table, we have 2 of back and front of the pamphlets that Emily had made for the handouts for the kids. And then we have the video screen for the doctor, as Bill pointed out. And then in the bottom right, by the desk, I guess you could call it, the table, there is, it looks like a white stick. It looks like the corner of the table, but it's actually, you can click on it and hear the music to house to kind of set a nice theme in here when they're fooling around with the labs and looking through everything, and it'll recycle. It'll just play over and over again until they shut it off, and that's it.
It's Eileen. I'd just like to say too, this is excellent the way they've integrated the real world. You know, students have all had people, you know, in their family have had illnesses, so they can identify with that. They identify very much with the shows, and I really encourage you to look at their website because they did a wonderful job of showing you some of these media out there. I've been learning from them. There are, you know, there's something called Glogster that I'm just learning about, that you can have kids make PowerPoints of sorts. The nice thing is they can easily email them back and forth, so you can, you know, have a lot of sharing going on. So this is good. I think you can see many ways you could bring this in over a lot of different times. Oh, yeah, and yeah, Liz knows a lot of technology. She also has something called Voki, which will speak for you. So I do encourage you to see their materials and also to see some of the good web links.